I've been thinking a lot about time lately. And one thing that you might not know about me is that I love Alice in Wonderland. My father used to read it to me before bed, chapter by chapter. And I loved it so much that my favorite doll is named Alice. And you can imagine how thrilled I was when I was cast as Alice in Alice in Wonderland at the Harwich Junior Theater at the age of 11. So, when you have a favorite character or a favorite book or movie or play, you sort of start to internalize the dialogue. And that's how it is for me with Alice. I find myself thinking, curiouser and curiouser. Or sometimes I even say in my head, I, I often give myself very good advice, but I very seldom follow it. 1 year ago, when the world shut down and we all began working and learning from home, time has passed quite differently. And perhaps you've had the experience too of having to figure out what day it is. Children and teens, who, especially those who are learning in hybrid, have to be really vigilant about what day of the week it is. But back last spring, or those of us who continue to learn and work remotely, I've heard it said that every day is Blur's Day. When shutdown began 1 year ago, I felt like I was falling down the rabbit hole because all the familiar anchors of my daily routine lost their gravity. At times, being on Zoom has felt like I was seated at the Mad Hatter's tea party because people kept popping in and then they pop out again. And sometimes you couldn't hear them or they froze mid-sentence. The global pandemic continues to be a time of great uncertainty and sadness for the whole world. Even elders and global leaders have never experienced a time like this. Humanity has continued to learn and adapt and change at a much more rapid pace than is normal for us. And so that reminds me of Alice when the caterpillar asks, "Who are you?" And she replies, "I hardly know, sir, at present. At least I knew who I was this morning, but I think I must have been changed several times since then." This has been especially hard for for all of us to be apart because we are in mourning. We are grieving the loss of loved ones, neighbors, friends. And even if our immediate circle has not been touched by death, we are collectively grieving the losses in our wider world that we share. So we carry within us this tender spot, even as we wash our hands and keep socially distanced and wear our masks to protect our own health. We know we are also being careful about the health of our wider community. First Parish children and teens, I want you to know how much I treasure the time that we have had together online. I am so grateful that we continue to connect through email and even by writing cards to one another. But I also know how much your body has changed over the course of a whole year. And I only get a little hint of it when I notice that your change of hairstyle. But I know that you have actually grown. You're taller than when we were together last. During momentous times in history, people who lived through them are often asked, "Where were you when?" For example, if you ask people who lived during the time of the moon landing or a natural disaster or an assassination, declarations of war and peace, they can recall exactly where they were when that happened, who they were with. And so on this 1 year anniversary, I want to invite you to think about, where were you when this momentous time in history began? Because it's possible we all kind of feel like Alice, who was just dreaming lazily along the riverbank. But really think about it. When did you first realize that COVID-19 wasn't just some distant virus, but something that would affect your life? How have you grown during this time? What has changed? With every person who is vaccinated, our hope increases. However, before we tumble into that next chapter, our next adventure, it is important that we mark the time. That's the reason for being a part of a religious community. We mark the time. Beth will now lead us in singing together again.